Doing awesome. How about yourself, man?
Can't complain.
Beautiful day.
Can't complain. Things are getting better every day.
Every day. It's good to be back.
So what's what?
What's what?
How you feeling? Doing all right?
Feeling good today. Yeah, absolutely. Much better
Better
than
than
the last
yesterday.
few. Yeah. Oh my
Yeah, I don't know
goodness.
what it was. Talking about Rafi and Ray's Pizza
Yeah.
brings me back to an incident. Couple incidents that happened, and one I had to eventually wind up pleading guilty to. People cooperate, right?
Right.
And we all know what people they say the word rat. Okay, so I'm talking about a mob rat. A mob rat is somebody to me who's the most dangerous type of person because what they'll do is they'll get you killed. Now, people are going to say, well, you send people to jail and this, that. It's not my job to send people to jail. Okay.
Right.
They think right away it's all your fault. It's all your fault, Frank, because of you, because of you. Well, I didn't make the law. I didn't create the system. I didn't create the law enforcement or everybody else. There's a lot of things that go into it. Anyways, to get off that subject, because I know that's a real gray area, right?
Right.
To me, a mob rat is the most dangerous because what they'll do is they'll piss in the boss's ear and tell the boss something that'll get you killed,
Get someone killed.
get someone
Get
killed.
someone killed.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there's been mob rats all through the years of the history of the mob. The guy, even the book Machiavelli, I don't know if you ever read it.
No. No.
Okay.
No.
He who pisses in the boss's ear is the boss.
It's a very true statement if you
Does
think
that make
about
any
that.
sense?
Yep. No. It's logic.
Right. So when you think about it, all the history of the mafia, I can only attest to the Lucchese family because I was, heard all through the years when Tony Ducks was the boss.
Right.
He had his little mob rats that eventually got guys killed. And it went on with Vic and Gaspipe as well. So let me tell you a story. I'm on Prince Street one day, never forget. I'm in Ray's Pizza. Who walks in the door? This guy, John Petroselli. I didn't, I heard of him,
He's
never
tied with
formally
the
met him.
Bronx, correct? That's the Bronx fashion.
But yeah, well, eventually he was with the Bronx faction, but he was
Okay.
originally from the Bronx. He was cousins with this guy, Tommy Panini. And from what I understand, he was very close. Him and Tommy Panini were very close to my Uncle Lewis, who was my father's brother that we talked about,
Right.
who was killed.
Yeah.
And that's a whole nother story for another day. John Petroselli walks into Ray's, staring at me, and he goes, "Feel my arm." Puts his arm out like his
Hmm.
like his forearm,
Right.
puts his hand on my phone, on
On the
he has me put his hand on his forearm. He goes, "You feel how much goosebumps I have?" He says, "You see how nervous I am? The goosebumps I got on my arm." So I said, "This guy's a
Is
nut."
he serious?
Yeah, dead serious.
Wow.
He goes, "Lewis is back."
Lewis is back.
So I looked at him. He said, "You remind me just of
Oh,
your uncle Lewis."
okay.
And Lewis was
At least
as
know
he's
what that
coming
is.
through, the pizzeria.
Hmm.
Rafi's telling me he's pretty much telling me that he's a wise guy with us.
Right.
At the time, I wasn't mate.
Okay.
Rafi was letting me know that he was a wise guy.
Yeah.
So John walks in, and then he said, "You see this thing I got on my neck?" He's had like a little horn on his neck.
Hmm.
I think it was a horn or a cross. He said, "Your uncle gave me this before he died." He said, "I never took it off."
Wow.
So I'm saying this goes deep.
Yeah. He's
He
he's
really
having an
had
emotional moment. This guy
he
right now.
really had a deep affection for Uncle Lewis.
Yeah.
And I'll get into stories as to why
Yeah.
later, different episode, whatever. I want to stay on this
Stay on point.
track,
Yeah.
right? Me and John, we exchanged numbers. At that time, they had beepers, like we had pages.
Hmm.
Remember the days where you had to page somebody?
Yep.
You had
And then
these
go
little
to a
beepers,
payphone.
and sometimes you would put certain numbers in there for it to spell certain
It
things.
was the code. Yeah.
Yeah, the
You had your
codes, right?
codes. Yeah.
So John gives me his number, I give him my number, right? Pager, whatever.
Hmm.
So I go see him up in the Bronx. He used to hang out in this bar called Knuckleheads. Good place.
Hmm.
I think it was off Pelham Parkway. I could be wrong with this.
Yeah.
And again,
Cross streets.
I'm not a mob historian. I don't claim to be. People are gonna come back there and go, "It was on this street. It was on this road. You're wrong. You don't know what you're
Your
talking about."
memory is the story. That's what we want to hear. Cross streets don't really mean a hell of a lot. They
They
really
wanna
don't.
pin you down to like you're like a Wikipedia.
Yeah.
I'm not. So, anyways,
The story is what matters, I believe. Again, little details. Everybody's
I
going to
will go
miss a
see
few of those,
so I will
including
go
me.
see
We'll get into that later.
I will go
Right.
see him up in Knuckleheads.
Okay.
And then there was another joint
Sounds like a
on
fun joint. I mean, really.
yeah, it was a nice
Who
place,
won't
like,
want to go to Knuckleheads?
yeah, Knuckleheads. It was like a comfortable tavern, bar, grill type of
Yep.
place, right? So we go up there, and John was like the celebrity up there
Okay.
because he was a made guy that was put in the Bronx, right? And everybody knew he was very close with Vic Amuso and Anthony Casso, Gaspipe,
Yep.
who were the official boss and underboss. And they knew that eventually he was going to be their guy up in the Bronx.
Okay.
He was due to be the captain as Vic Amuso. He was due to be the captain in the Bronx. And the plan was to put all the Bronx guys under him.
And make it a strong
Well,
family,
now,
if you will.
not only make it stronger, but also to keep tabs on all the Bronx guys for Vic and Gas,
Makes sense.
right? Because they didn't trust anybody from the Bronx.
Hmm.
That they didn't trust anybody from the Bronx giving them the right, whatever was going on.
Information.
They felt like John was their guy.
Yep. And
John will be up
he could be
there.
trusted.
He could be trusted. So everybody knew that was the plan. So up there, John was like a big breath of fresh air to the Bronx.
Mhm.
And mind you, give a little history about John. John did a double homicide. He killed two people years ago. They said the scene that when he did this work was out of the Godfather movie, where Michael Corleone goes and has a meeting with the
With the
cop
family
and
heads and the
what was
cop
what
in the
was the guy?
restaurant.
What was the guy who wanted to get them in the drug
Salazzo?
business?
Not Salazzo.
Salazzo.
Salazzo, right?
Yeah.
Salazzo. Yes, that's right. He kills Salazzo and the police chief.
They said it was just like that. That
That type of scene.
they even think that that's where they got it from.
Copycat.
They said that was John.
Okay.
That was John. He banged out. He
He's going to make a
unalived.
clear statement.
Should I say unalive for now on?
Unalived, yeah.
Giantonio?
I think we
Trying to make this a
What do you
family
think's gonna
friendly.
make YouTube happy?
Is there such a thing as a family friendly content mob channel?
I don't, we're about to create something.
Ex-mob.
man.
Forget, we
Depends
don't
on
want to
which
be.
family
We,
we're
We want to
talking
be
about.
nice guys,
we
right?
don't want to be in the mafia genre anyway.
No.
Anyways, so he unalive two people. He goes on the lam, and his wife, okay, is just as tough as him.
Really?
Yeah, she's known to be like a very tough woman, right? So John, I guess he couldn't. He was on the lam for quite a few years. He had trouble staying on the lam because it's expensive. It's
Yeah.
expensive to stay on the lam because you really can't. Where you gonna work? Where you gonna make money? How you gonna make money? You got to always constantly hide and all that stuff. He gets caught shoplifting in a grocery store, shoplifting meat.
Wow.
So John gets pinched for a double murder. Goes to jail. While he's in jail, he meets this kid, Gus Faraci. Becomes super close with him. They did stories about this before, saying like Gus took him under his wing and Gus had to protect him. That's not the case. Okay. And nobody had to protect John. John was as tough as they came. These guys that report, they think they're reporters again. They see things at face value. They just take it like, oh, well, Gus is a bigger guy. He was on steroids. He was this, that. Or he must have been protecting John. No. John
wasn't the
held his
case.
own.
Yeah.
No, John held his own. They just became really good friends. Gus winds up getting out of jail. Does something really stupid. I mean, the stupidest thing you could ever imagine.
Which is?
Goes on a drug deal with this undercover agent, DEA agent. His name was Everett Thatcher. It was undercover operation where Thatcher had a I think it was an eighth of a kilo cocaine.
Mhm. And Faraci's supposed to buy it from him, right? Is that how
Right,
that story
exactly.
goes?
So I was
Okay.
supposed to meet him and buy
Yep.
it.
Yep.
Instead, this moron pulls out a gun and kills him.
Yeah.
There's Johnny.
Shot him 3
That's
times.
Petroselli. That's my old friend.
Yeah. That's Petroselli.
Yeah, what a. I mean, you're gonna say, yeah, the guy's a murderer. He did this, he did that. I understand all of that, but in that world, my past life, my past world with the mob and stuff, he was a good friend.
Yeah.
He really was. He was a real friend to me, and a real friend to Gus too. And we wound up costing his life.
They're real people. I mean, it's like we said, we grew up in a different atmosphere, if you will.
Okay, so he becomes friends with Gus. Gus comes out of jail. As you can see, he's beefed up with steroids. He's a big kid,
Yeah.
six, I don't know, 6'2", 6'4", steroid jacked, and got a lot of balls. The kid,
Yeah.
does something really stupid, goes and kills a federal DA agent. Now he didn't know it was an agent. He didn't know. So, but you don't do business like that either. Even if the guy wasn't an agent, you don't make a deal with somebody,
And then shoot him 3 times in the head.
show up with no money and kill the guy for his goods.
He had no intention of paying him. He was just going to take him out,
Yeah, no matter who he
no
was.
matter what. Yeah. Even if it was an innocent drug dealer, not a DEA agent. But it turns out to be this guy who's a DEA agent. So what happens?
Now what happens? He gets away on the scene. If I tell you the manhunt for him at the time was unbelievable. It was believable because it was a DEA agent. They put him on America's Most Wanted.
Yeah.
And I mean, they were actively, you talk about,
Well, they were shaking down a lot of people, weren't they? I mean, they were going through the neighborhoods. Even
right?
Bensonhurst, I had heard that they were shaking down people,
Oh,
trying to get like shutting down the mob. Basically, is that accurate?
once they got word it was an Italian kid that was kind of associated with the mob,
Yeah, that's all it took.
they were on the mob like white on rice.
Yep.
It was, Sonny, it was ridiculous.
Yeah. I've heard
Rightfully
stories.
so.
I mean,
Rightfully so. You can't.
no, that's a bad thing. Yeah, all you're doing is bringing heat on everyone. So the heat's on. So what continues to take place at this point?
So Gus gets right off the scene, killing the agent. First person he calls, Petroselli. Just remember John telling me.
That's right.
First person he goes and pages, right? Calls up John Petroselli. John was, super closest kid in the can. He helps him. He says, "Come with me. I'll put you up. Hide him out." That's what a big heart, John had.
That's the kind of heart he had. Yeah.
A lot of guys maybe would have said, "No, don't come near me.
Yeah. To
It's
stay
too much
away,
heat.
buddy. The heat's on. Don't come
Stay
near me.
away.
Yeah.
Don't answer the phone call." So that's like, I know we're dealing with all. It's hard to talk about. It's hard to talk about the masses to people to say, okay, we're in the middle of this incident with two murderers and all this other stuff. I'm just trying to give a different perspective of it
Mhm.
when it comes to the mob and stuff, right? So Johnny tells me this kid calls him right away, 911, calls him right back, takes him, puts him up at his place to start. After that, he goes and gets him a spot. Now, John lived in the Bronx, right? I don't know exactly where the spot was, but it was kind of rural. He put him
Okay.
up like, I don't know if it was
Westchester, maybe
Westchester,
somewhere.
New Rochelle, wherever it was,
Rumor
right?
was it was up in Westchester somewhere.
So the house that he put him in was like a house that was like the backyard was the woods.
Hmm.
So it was very rural. There was acres and acres of woods. Like it was like it was exactly the woods. Like you could have head out in the woods, right? So he puts him up, puts him in the place, make sure he has food, make sure he has clothes, make sure everything he needs to stay on the land.
He's taking care of this kid.
Take care of him. He goes to raise, right?
Hmm.
After that time, I used to meet him downtown.
Hmm.
Because if he came down, he said, "Hey, you're going to be in the neighborhood." Because he used to come see my uncle down when my uncle lived on Center Street.
Okay.
No, I take that back. Lafayette between Kenmare and Spring. On Lafayette Street. That's where my uncle lived. So every time John used to come down to the neighborhood, he'd say, "Hey, you're going to be down at the pizzeria." I go, yeah. So I meet him there. He tells Rafi, without, here's how I know about it, right? Because later on, Rafi tells me, and then John tells me, right? He goes over to Rafi, he tells Rafi, he says, I got America's Most Wanted. He tells him. He tells Rafi, because Rafi was that kind of guy.
Yeah.
I told you, Rafi had a great personality. Everybody loved him. Everybody trusted him and everything else.
He was the politician.
I don't know why or what John was thinking, telling him, you know.
Yeah.
But now, mind you, Gus is all over the papers. He's all over the news. He's all over everywhere.
It's a massive manhunt for this guy
Massive
at this point.
manhunt.
Yeah, you can't kill a DEA agent and think you're going to get away with it.
He tells Rafe, he says, hey, he says, I got America's Most Wanted. Tells Rafe this. So Rafe just, I guess, takes it in. Me and John leave that day, whatever. So it was another day I was in the pizzeria. Rafe comes over to me, pulls me outside. We go in the parking lot. There used to be a parking lot right next door to the restaurant.
Mm.
He says, hey, he says, why don't you stay away from this Johnny? I said, well, why?
What's going through your head at this point, right?
Well, what's going through my head is, I'm saying, in the beginning, when John Petroselli came in there and he was all over me because of my uncle.
Yeah, because your uncle.
You were praising this guy. When he came in there, Rafe jumped out of his chair and says, here's what he told me. He said, don't forget this. He said, today's janitor could be tomorrow's landlord. So already Rafe's kissing his ass because he knows this guy did a beef. He did, 15, 20 years for a double homicide, kept his mouth shut, come home. He's close to Vic and Gas. He gets straightened out right away. May guy. He's due to be the captain of the Bronx. Okay. Now you figure, you know what? He's headed for the number 3 slot. There's only 3 slots that really matter in the mob.
You need him in your corner, any way you cut it.
And Rafe already kissing ass.
Yep.
Big ass kisser.
Yep.
He wanted to be okay with everybody. You know what I mean?
Yep, that was his thing.
Jumps up. He goes, today's janitor could be tomorrow's landlord. And Rafe was thinking, they were all thinking that eventually John's going to be the captain, then he'll be a concierge. Or something, like a top 3 slot.
Yeah.
Because you got boss.
He's on the move in the family.
He's headed for the administration.
Yeah.
If he's not headed for the administration, he's very close to the administration.
Yeah.
Well, now.
Why is he telling you to stay away at this point?
Well, now it's a 180.
Yeah.
First, he was praising the guy, and he's very impressed. And he's also impressed by the fact that the guy was, pursuing me.
Yeah.
And telling me, hey, it's good that this guy likes you, and he's very close with. They used to go like this. Yeah. When they said Vic and Gas, they wouldn't say Vic and Gas. Most of the times they would go like this, like a V and an A.
Yeah, makes sense.
Makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Instead of saying
absolutely, you don't have to mention names.
The time that went by, it was weeks that went by before this happened, right? Rafe calls me down, like I said, and says, hey, you think it's a good idea you hanging around this John, because everybody heard I was getting very close with him.
Yeah.
I said, why? What's the problem? He's harboring that kid. This Gus, not supposed to be doing that. So I didn't say nothing. So anyway, I continued to hang out with John because I didn't listen to Rafe.
Yeah.
I didn't see anything wrong with it. So I go up to go Knuckleheads again, right? John would drink. I didn't realize he had a bad coke habit.
A lot of guys in that area at that time did. It was kind of the thing to do in the late 80s, 90s.
Well, it was one thing where, let's say you're having drinks or whatever,
mm-hmm.
and he went in, he took a toot. They used to call it like a little hit.
Yeah, a little bump.
Whatever they called it. He'd come out and you start drinking again.
Yeah.
Right? Well, as the months went by, it got so bad. I remember one incident, fast forward, right? He pulled out the pager out of his pocket. He had a sport jacket on, right? He pulled out the pager. Somebody was beeping him. He couldn't see the phone number because it was covered in coke.
Oh, my goodness.
So to see the numbers, he went like this. Blew an 8-ball. There must have been I don't know how much flew across the bar, right? Now you got people in there that mostly everybody's drunk. They're looking for a hit.
Yeah, of course they are.
Man, everybody starts getting excited, like, holy Yeah. I never see nothing like it. Just went like to say, oh, geez, I can't see it.
And
and a freaking 8-ball goes flying into the air, right?
That's so funny.
I said, John, what the
Yeah, right? What are you doing?
And then he goes to dig in his pocket. He's got like full rocks of coke.
In
He
his
must have had an
pocket.
eighth of a key on him. Who knew?
My goodness.
Whacked out of his mind. His jaw was locked. Come out of the bathroom like this.
Yeah.
Couldn't even talk anymore.
I remember the type.
I said, "Holy this is bad. It's getting right." Anyway, he'd wake up the next day like nothing happened, fresh as a daisy.
Yep.
I don't know how
That's
people do
amazing.
that.
You know,
That's
just
amazing.
out all night.
Yep.
You know, and then wake up the next day like, "Hey, how you doing?" I was
That's
shaking my head
That's-
because I never
that's
did
just-
drugs.
That's normalcy for him.
I
all
tried.
it
I
is.
tried coke once. Because
Really?
this girl was trying to pick this girl up, and she says, I was in a club, right? She said, "Hey, you got any like powder on you, or whatever?" I go, "No."
Yeah.
She said, "Well, if you could get it in 5 minutes, you could have my ass in 5 minutes." So here I am. I'm running to the neighborhood to try to grab, because I wasn't known to do coke.
Where's Petrocelli now?
This is before I knew him,
I know.
right? So I go,
Just
I
messing
go
with you.
grab, I go grab some coke. I go back with the girl, and we're partying and everything else, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't help you with a girl.
No. If anything, I think
Performance-wise.
allegedly it does the opposite.
It's kind of
the opposite.
detrimental.
It does the opposite.
Yeah.
Anyway, make a long story short.
Scary that we know this.
Make a long story short, after that night, I stood home.
Yeah.
Right when I went home, staring at the ceiling until 7:00 in the morning, grinding my jaw.
Yeah.
I says, "I'll never do this again." I felt like the biggest jerk off.
Well, you don't do anything, Frank. You
No.
don't drink. You don't do drugs. You don't do any of that. I can vouch for that.
And I never did in the past. Anybody that knew me when I was on the street,
Yeah.
I didn't drink. I didn't get high.
No.
Yeah, I would drink, but never get
Well,
to
what
the
was your
point
nickname there for a minute?
where.
What'd they call you? Babyface?
No, that's just the papers.
I'm
Yeah.
just messing with you again. They gave you that nickname. That's why I laugh when I read some stuff.
Yeah. So
Anyway.
I see Spaghetti Man. I go, what the hell? Where did they get this from?
Where did they get it from?
I know where they
What's that?
got it from.
Do you really?
I know where they got it from. The Puerto Rican kid I was dealing drugs with, when he would tell the guys that he was working with,
He gave him a different name.
because every time, couple times he used to come down to come see me when I used to give him goods, heroin. I was always eating Italian food. So I'd invite him to a restaurant or whatever, and a couple times I was eating spaghetti. So he would go tell his friends on Wiretap, "Yeah, I just came from Spaghetti Man," not to say my name.
Not to say the name.
Right.
So everybody had a bunch of nicknames.
I'll get to,
obviously.
I'll get into more detail with that. Somehow, you know what it is with food? It's always, even with Italians, like, I mean, it's symbolic, you know?
Like you said, I think you said one time you told me I love to eat, but I live to eat. I think you talked about it like
It's like,
that.
what else is there to do?
That starts with
Exactly.
your family,
Right.
because every Sunday, it's a tradition. Everyone gets together and you have dinner and you do all that stuff. And so it's ingrained from the time you're probably 5.
Well, food was symbolic. You did everything around it. There was conversations around it. You know, you went through the whole thing. You had appetizers, you had salad, you had dinner, you had coffee, you had pastries.
And the salad comes at the end of the meal.
Well, it's funny you say
Helps
that.
you with the digestion.
It's when my grandmother used to serve it. Was always at the end of the meal.
And it goes in with the gravy in there.
That's right.
You don't take the gravy out, because when the vinegar mixes up with that gravy,
That's right.
it's a whole other level.
Yeah.
Yep.
See how we get off
Yeah,
talking
see?
about food?
That's how
There we
fast
go,
That's
it
how
is.
passionate we are about food around here, man. A lot of people say things about it, but we are passionate about food. Just shows you our Italian heritage, man.
It's the Italian Food Network.
Yeah. And speaking of,
Hey,
we
may
just
be
got a
on this-
delivery, literally.
We may be,
like,
see,
they literally
food's
just
here.
pushed it through the door. We got a
Speaking of
delivery.
We got food
Speaking
again.
of food, what do we-
Everybody,
It
What do
wouldn't
we
be
got
the
today?
same
See?
if we didn't have something to eat.
What do we have today?
We have to eat. It's part of the process here.
What's,
I hate
what, kind
to
of,
say
what kind of food is it today?
Well, today we've got this bag that they pushed through the door.
it's burritos.
Of
It's
burritos.
burritos.
It's burritos. We're going Mexican here, kids.
It's because we were talking about the Mexicans
That's
yesterday.
right.
This is because we were
Yeah.
saying good things about the Mexican people,
That's right.
That's
So-
right.
and they brought us
So the,
Mexican
next
food.
thing
so
you
the
know,
team
here comes the
decided today
burritos.
we're eating Mexican
Frank,
food.
you were just kissing Mexican ass.
My goodness. All right, we got to get back on track
So,
here.
It kind of
But now you
looks
made
like
me
we got a
hungry,
bunch
and I
of
can't
heroes.
think straight when I'm hungry.
I hope it's carne asada.
Yeah, I
I'm
believe
not
it
telling
is.
you what
I
it
believe
is.
it is.
You're gonna be surprised. How's that?
I got a cheat sheet somewhere, so that tells me what we're eating today. Somebody texted me something that we were
Oh,
getting
boy, oh,
food.
boy.
Nice. These are heavy.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
See, these
Hey,
are the
thank you.
napkins. You need 22 of them.
So now what
these are
happens is this.
nice. They weigh about 5 pounds.
You know, something back in New York, not to get off subject,
Yeah,
right?
let's get off subject.
I think we're already off
We
subject.
didn't have any Mexican joints back then.
Buddy, I didn't know what Mexican food was growing up in New York. I really didn't. There was a place we used to go to in Greenwich Village. It was way off the beaten path. Can't think of the name of it, but it was beautiful. And it's the only time I had Mexican food. It wasn't popular in New York City. Just never really took off. Now it's everywhere out here. It's everywhere.
Like a 4-pound burrito.
Mm.
Mm.
Excuse me while I dive in.
Mm.
That's good meat too.
Fresh guacamole in there too, right?
Fresh guacamole,
Taste that?
some pico, some beans, carne
It's nice
asada.
steak, man.
So if you had to choose a food other than Italian food as like, this is what I would eat, it would be my food. What is it?
Chinese.
Good Chinese food ran through my
Some
head,
kind of
though.
Asian food, yeah.
Good Chinese food. The way we used to get in Chinatown.
I'm with you.
They don't have that out here. I can't find it.
So at this point, he's kind of whacked out on blow.
Mm-hmm.
He's drinking excessively. But he had a really good connection with the Colombians. Yeah, these Colombian guys that would give him keys of pure, like the best cocaine you could get and like the cheapest prices. And John was very good to me, like he was generous. He would give me, whatever I wanted. If I wanted 5 keys, 10 keys to go make money. At that time, I remember I was getting it for like 15, 17,000 a key.
Wow.
Right? And it was going for like 25, 26 without even trying. And that's without even breaking it up into eighths and ounces and,
Yeah, making it street size.
So I would go make 5,000 on the key on a flip.
Yeah.
So if you give me 5 keys, I make 25,000.
One drop.
10 keys, I make 50,000.
Yeah.
Right. And it was like unlimited. He would tell me, yeah, I got 200, I got access to 200 keys, 300 keys. It didn't matter.
Wow.
He goes out to this club one night. I forget the name of it. I even forget where it was. Some bouncer disrespected him. I don't know what he did or what he said, but he threw John out of the place and he embarrassed him. John wasn't supposed to be there. It was getting to the point where he's hanging out in bars and clubs, drinking and partying.
Not the right place.
It wasn't the right.
Not for
wasn't the
where
right-
he was headed
Yeah.
and how much respect he had. That was all the wrong things to do.
He should have stood home more.
Yep.
Not go out as much. Go out when you need to. Take care of serious business. He was more of a partier. He became like a partying guy. A lot of the guys from the Bronx, they weren't like that. He started getting this reputation where he's putting himself in places where you're not supposed to be putting yourself. You don't put yourself in a position where you get into an issue like that. And I'm not saying you can't go out, but I think what happened was he started going to these places where, and then from there we go to after hour places, and then who are you going to meet in an after hour place? Everybody's whacked out.
Yep. Everybody's in the same mode. Yeah.
And you're more likely to get into a problem, right? I mean, your chances go up a lot when you put yourself around more people and you put yourself around more drunk people.
If you're going out clubbing and after hours, there's only a matter of time before you're going to bump into the wrong group.
Now, he had an unlimited supply of Coke. To him, it was nothing. Calls me up. It was, I never forget, it was like on a Sunday. Monday, I'm hanging out down on the Spring Street Lounge. Spring and Mulberry. It's a bar, neighborhood bar we used to hang out in. Pages me. Come down. He comes to pick me up. He says, hey, I got to talk to you. He said, this effing punk kicked me out of the place. He embarrassed me. This, that. And do me a favor. I said, sure. What do you want? He says, I want you to shoot the guy, his leg. I don't want you to kill him. He said, I just want you to put him in the hospital. I said, okay. Now, in my mind, I'm thinking,
So you agreed to this already.
I agreed to it because, one, he was my friend.
Okay.
Okay, I would have,
And you respected him. And
whether he was a wise guy or not, I would have did it because he's my friend. That's the way I was. I would help you.
Yep.
Two, I'm thinking, well, I'm not going to lie. I'm thinking this guy's going to get me straightened out.
okay.
because he's telling me
'Cause
all
you're
along.
gonna go do this favor for him. So
Because this is before because he's telling me all along. It was a known fact. He's close with Vic. He's got an in. He's gonna be the captain up there. You're gonna come with me, and I go way back with your uncle. So I'm thinking,
Yes.
well,
a lot of connections that made you make that
yeah. So
decision.
I'm thinking, well, this is a guy I could trust, and
Yeah.
it makes sense. Now, what the first and foremost reason, because the guy was my friend, and I'm saying it doesn't help. It doesn't hurt that he's already a made guy, and I could do some work and get it on record with him, and eventually,
So that's what's going through your head at this point. That there's eventually there's something big in it for you.
yeah, that was a secondary reason. Okay. Well, what happens is, I told him, I said, hey, you know where to go? He says, yeah, we're gonna go there. He said, meet me, meet me up there.
So he's got a plan
He's got a
on how to
plan.
execute it.
It was on an off night where the kid was working. He got it all laid out. I go up there, I go meet him up in the Bronx, and I'm saying to myself, you got all these kids around you.
Yeah, you got a crew,
You
basically.
got a lot of kids around them. I said, none of these kids want to step up. He said, I can't rely on any of them. He said, they're not shooters. They're not. He said, I can't rely on any of them. He said, I can rely on you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I had a 38 pistol. I go meet him up in the Bronx. We take his car. I'll never forget, he drove a Mazda 626. So we're in the car.
Okay.
And we're laying out. 3 guys walk out. Big guys, bouncer.
They're bouncers, yeah.
I'm ready. I got a 38. I'm ready to go. He's got an umbrella on the floor of the car. He says, take the umbrella. I go, I don't need the umbrella.
Right.
I got a hood. So anyway, I put the hood on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm waiting in the car. They're getting closer. He goes, the one on the right. I'm getting the door. I got it halfway open. No, wait a second. I think it's the one on the left.
Oh boy, here we go.
I shut the door. I go, John, which one is it?
Yeah.
He's looking. They're getting closer. They're walking towards us, right? But he's squinting because he couldn't see that good.
Wow.
He's going like this.
So he's not 100% sure at
Not
this
100%
point.
sure. So I'm
No,
looking, I'm saying,
it's
he's
impossible.
I'm going to wind up hitting the wrong kid.
Lord.
So finally, as they get closer, he looks and he says, definitely the one in the middle.
So we got all 3 of them now.
So I
Left,
said,
the right, the middle.
I said, you sure? He
Yeah.
goes, I'm sure. So
Okay.
they stop. They stopped to
The 3
talk.
stop.
The 3 of them stopped to talk, right? And it was like misty out, but it wasn't enough to have you could have carried an umbrella, but it was kind of misty out. It was like rain that you could deal with
Right.
without an
Right.
umbrella, The floors was just starting to get that slick. Like when the concrete gets wet
Looks
and the oil comes
clean.
up from the, yeah, that's what it was like. Finally, he's for sure. He says the one in the middle. I got the hood on. I open the door up. I walk up to them. I get close enough. I pull out a 38. Boom. Cam in the leg. One guy just doesn't even, he just runs. The other guy standing there looking at me and looking at the guy who got shot. I stick the gun up at him,
Mm-hmm.
like towards his head, saying I'll shoot him. He goes, he takes off. The other kid's down there that got hit, he's holding his leg. He's screaming. I walk over to him. I put the gun to his face,
Mm-hmm.
Just put the gun to his face. And I didn't say nothing. I was ready to, I don't know why I did that. I don't know if I wanted to put extra fear into him or whatever
Probably.
the case was.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's call it that.
He's screaming and I just walk away, right? Got the hood on all the while. I go back into the car. And I'm running to the car, like a light jog. Again, his Mazda.
Mm-hmm.
He makes a U-turn and we take off. Where do we go to celebrate?
Knuckleheads?
Knuckleheads. Right, of course.
Knuckleheads?
He's so excited. He's banging my hip, like my leg. Man, good job. Good job. You don't know how proud of you I am. You don't know how proud I am. And this and that. And praise me up and down,
What are you thinking at this point?
I'm thinking, good question. I felt accomplished.
Okay.
I did what I had to do.
Right. Carried out your order,
And
basically.
it felt good. It felt good that he was happy. And I helped a friend. We go to Knuckleheads. He's telling everybody. Whoever was coming over, you know,
He had the
having a
story.
drink.
Yeah.
And he's going, yeah, that's my man. Blah blah blah.
Hmm.
Now word started getting around that there was ambulance trucks and there was law enforcement on the scene, wherever the hell it was, New Rochelle or Westchester, wherever this place was, because that's where I hit him outside.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's drinking up a storm and he's blah blah blah,
having a good time.
talking, yeah, and he's talking about the future. You're with me. You're gonna be with me.
Mhm.
I'm gonna be the captain up here. After that, I'm gonna be the guy. I'm gonna have a seat in the administration. I'm gonna make sure you're my right hand and this and that and the whole thing.
Right.
And then it tells me at the same time, he says, I got packages. How many you want? You know?
Okay.
I would go to the phone of Knuckleheads. I would beat my Puerto Rican
Mm.
guy I was doing business with.
Yeah.
Call him up, how many he could handle. He can handle 5. Go back to John, give me 5.
Give me 5. Yep.
Come back to my place. I got it in my place. He had like a safe house. I go follow him. He go right into his closet, wherever he had them, Just take 5 keys out, throw them in a duffel bag. Here you go. No money, no nothing. Giving me really how much? 80,000?
Yeah. Like,
just here
here
you go.
Yeah.
I call my Puerto Rican connection up. The kid, he was up in Boston. I say, come down. I had a safe house in Brooklyn. I would keep the kilos over there. The next day he would come down. I go meet him, give him the keys. Boom, we go up there, flip him. I was making a ton of money. Great relationship going with Johnny,
Yeah.
John Petroselli. Good guy, everything else, right? Well, he has this Gus Faraci on the lam.
He's still harboring this guy.
Still harboring him. He
Through
tells
all
me
of this, during the same time you did him that favor.
that night. He tells me, I got America's Most Wanted.
Right.
He says,
Yeah, he's got him.
He's got him. I got him in a place. I got him in a place by the woods. He thinks he's Rambo. He goes, he plays in the woods. He does these things like with trees, and he really thought he was Rambo. This kid, like
You gave him a situation, and he tried to make it work.
As a matter of fact, he says, I got 2 kids around me. They run and bring him food. That kid eats a lot. He's a big guy.
Yeah.
So all he's doing is he's talking, he's praising this kid. Praising him how to me, how, me and this kid were close in jail. He was talking like this kid's his hero. That he killed a DEA agent. It's his hero.
Wow.
Because he killed a bad guy.
Well,
cops are the bad guys.
Okay.
That's so stupid.
Yeah.
Right?
That's the thought process.
That's the mentality.
Right? That's it.
So it was maybe, I want to say, the week after. He tells me he has to go to Jersey. He had to go meet somebody out there. I don't know if it was another gangster or whoever the hell it was, right? He said, come on, take a ride with me. So I go take a ride with him to Jersey. Okay. Again, in his brand new Mazda 626.
Yep.
Right? I never forget, we're coming back over the Holland Tunnel. You remember the Holland Tunnel, right?
In the Holland Tunnel.
Coming back, just as we're getting out of the Holland Tunnel on the New York side.
Manhattan side, yeah.
Manhattan side.
Mm-hmm.
This car come from behind us. Hit us. Boom.
Oh, boy.
Like to pull us over.
Yeah.
First, what they did was they put a siren on the top of their thing. They were undercover.
Cherry
on the hood.
Yep.
And then when we were pulling over to stop, they bunked into us.
You.
Not like a smash, like they smashed the car, but boom,
I'll let you know.
Enough to make you shake, right?
Yep.
Walk over. I don't know who they were. They flashed their badges real quick.
Yep.
They didn't say their names or nothing, right? Get the F out of the car. So me and Johnny get out of the car, right? They got their fingers in our faces.
What are they saying at this point?
They says, oh, he wants to be a tough guy? He wants to kill agents? You're running out of time. We want this kid dead on the street. We don't want to arrest him.
They're not messing around.
We don't want to pinch him. We don't want to arrest him. We want him dead. And we know you got him.
So they know Because
Word
he's
gets on the
told enough
street.
people.
Like I said,
he
John told enough
people.
people, and there's more rats on the street
Yeah,
than there
there's
is in
more.
the program. You know, I know people argue with me.
Yeah, no,
you know,
that's
but
you're 100% right. There's a million informants everywhere.
looking back at
Probably
this
still
now,
is.
looking back at it, if we called the Christmas party and they said, "Hey, go to La Park, we're having our Christmas party there," right? Well,
Yeah.
before we get there, there's agents all over the place. How do they know? You go to a wake, you go to a funeral, wherever you went, where there was going to be a gathering,
Yep.
agents are there. How do they know? Somebody's telling
Informants,
them.
yeah. Now, what are you thinking during this? You got what's happening? Like,
I'm thinking I'm f***ed over here. Excuse my
watch
language.
your language.
I'm saying maybe I should listen to Rafi. Maybe I should listen to whoever.
Mm-hmm.
Stay away from this guy, but I can't because he's my friend. You know? Agents get out. They pretty much told him, okay, you're running out of time. This kid better show up somewhere dead. Okay. If he doesn't, we're gonna come down on you like we never did before. Every Joker poker machine, we're gonna axe every Joker poker machine. We're gonna shut down every club there is. We're gonna come down so hard. And they did. They went around. I heard they spoke to.
That was the rumors I heard too.
They went to all the bosses, knocked on their doors,
And told them, give this kid up.
from John Gotti to this one to
Mhm.
that one, whoever was who's who. They went and they said, this kid better pop up.
Yeah.
Because they got word that organized crime, one of the families is harboring this kid. So anyway, I get back in the car. They let us go. Get back in the car. Now we don't even want to talk in his car because we know it's bugged. So we're just looking at each other and he's trying to whisper and I'm like, you know,
Yeah. Don't.
we pull over on West Broadway. There's a place over there. It was called the Americano.
Okay.
We used to go hang out there to drink. We pull over. We get out of the car. We walk away from the car. I go, John, this is
serious.
This is serious.
They're going to break the families down to get this kid.
This is getting out of hand. I said, you got to do something.
Yeah.
You know. He says, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. Why should I do it? Why should I give this kid up? I said, why? I
They
said,
just told you why.
I'm not saying the kid give the kid up. I said, I understand where you're coming from. I said, but what
purpose
what
does
just
it
happened?
serve
I said,
anymore? What purpose does this serve at this point?
He tells me, he goes like this to me. He says, I can't do it. He says, I can't do it because he's my friend. You take care of it for me.
You got to be kidding.
Huh. So I'm lucky I can laugh about it now.
Of course. But I mean, so he wants you to take care of this for him.
Right.
So what's your next move? How do you, I mean, there's so much involved in this and so much at stake because of where, you know, the police, FBI agents, whatever they were that pulled you over. I mean, these guys, they're serious. They're gonna give the family a hard time in every aspect until this kid is, you hand them over, basically. Either way, hand them over is what they're telling them. So now you're involved to help solve the problem.
At the same time, what else is going on? Rafi, back to my old buddy Rafi.
The guy who told you don't stop hanging out with him. Stop hanging out with Johnny.
I learned this later on. I put two and two together. Right. At that time, Vic and Guess weren't on the limb. They were around.
Okay.
He went to Vic. I don't know if Vic came down to the pizzeria to go see Rafi, or Rafi went out to go reach out to him. Rafi was the one who went to Vic Amuso and said, John Petrucelli's harboring this kid. Vic never knew.
So you believe it was Rafi that went to him.
1,000%. I know it was Rafi.
Okay.
Because later on, the Brooklyn crew told me it was Rafi.
Is that why he tried to warn you? Or was that prior to that? Or timeline doesn't really matter, but it's kind of interesting that he was trying to warn you, I think, maybe to, hey, stay away from this kid, you know, what he's doing, and maybe he had already talked to Vic prior to that.
There was a lot of things going on at the same time. I'm doing it to the best of my recollection. right?
Gotcha. Yeah.
So John gets called in by Al Diaco. Al Diaco was the acting boss for Vic Amuso.
Mm-hmm.
I think at that time Vic had just went away, or right before he went. I don't know how Rafi got word to him. It might have been, now that I'm thinking, it might have been through Al Diaco, or it might have been directly with Vic. I heard it was directly through Vic.
Okay. That kind of adds up.
And I'm trying to get the timeline together, but it all happened so fast within like a month or two. This all happened,
Well,
right?
like you said, there's a bunch of stuff going on at this whole time. Yeah.
Maybe like
It
3
really
months.
is. Yeah.
Al Diaco gets word and gets orders from Vic and Gas. Call Johnny in and tell him he's got 2 weeks to kill him. So Diaco calls Petrocelli down to his restaurant, La Donna Rosa, on Center Street, calls him down and goes, "You got 2 weeks to get rid of this kid. We know you got him. You got to take care of this."
Wow.
John right away pages me.
Yep. I was going to say, you're up.
I was in Brooklyn. He says, "Hey, I'll meet you. I'm going back up to the Bronx. Can you come meet me?" Yeah, I know where to meet you. I go to Knuckleheads again.
Yep.
He's telling me about the meeting he had with Al Diaco. So in the beginning, before he started drinking, he started making sense. He's going, I'm thinking I should never got involved with this kid.
He was thinking clear.
He's thinking more clearly,
Yeah.
right? And he says, now they know I got him. I'm on a spot. He says, I can't do it. Like I told you, I can't do it. He says, you got to take care of this for me. Now, John, the easiest person would have been to kill him was John,
Yeah. He's the closest.
closest to him.
And he trusts 100% the guy. I mean,
Right. So in my mind, I'm saying to myself all the while, you could do this. Why do you,
yeah. Why do you
you
need
don't
to-
even want to be there? Like, he didn't want to come with me.
Wow.
So he's telling me I can't do it because I'm close with him and I can't do this. Right? It's his friend. He can't kill his friend. I respected that. Then he started drinking. Right. And then he starts going,
One thing
starts
leads to
knocking Al
another.
Diaco,
Yeah.
starts knocking Vic,
Oh,
starts
geez.
knocking Gas.
Uh-oh.
Why should I kill this kid? This kid's a good kid. He killed an agent. He did this. He did that. I'm like,
He's still
John.
sticking to that original story, man.
I said, John, doesn't work like that.
No.
I said, John, you know better. All right. So I talk him off the ledge. He goes, all right, do this for me. I said, okay, I'll do it for you, right? He said, I'm going to send you up with my 2 guys, the kids that run and get him groceries and stuff, right? So the plan is we're going to go shopping, his daily shop. They go and get meat and this and that and all the groceries and stuff. I'm going to come in with the kids.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to introduce him to me and I'm going to bang him out. So I know he's a big guy. So back then I had an arsenal. I had anything I wanted.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, okay, big guy, Rambo, steroids. I'm saying,
Yeah.
I got to hit him more than with a 38. So I had this bullpup shotgun.
Okay. What does that look like? And there she is.
There it is.
Bullpup shotgun.
Small enough, more powerful.
Yep. What caliber is that, Frank? Yep.
I got no idea. All I knew.
Oh, you know it works.
Yeah. Yeah, because I went to my gun connection. I'm like, hey, I need something small.
Give him a
And
scenario, and that's what he comes up with.
he says, I got something perfect for that.
Perfect.
So the plan is, got these groceries. Like I said, the 2 guys that got groceries,
You're
I'm
going up
behind
with
them.
the 2 kids, yeah.
I'm hiding with another bag with the bullpup shotgun in it, or behind it.
Right.
And we're walking in. They're gonna introduce me, and I'm gonna, instead of shaking the guy's hand, I'm gonna hit him.
Yeah.
So we go to the grocery store. We go shopping. Yeah. They're, as normal, they're buying meat. They're buying this. They're buying that. So I got the bullpup in the car. Took their car. And they're taking me up to go. And before I went, John gives me a big hug and a kiss. Tell me I really
Thank you.
appreciate this
Love you.
and that.
Yeah.
Love you. Be careful. And in my mind, I'm saying, why are you not coming with us?
I'd be suspect at that point too. Because he's torn, obviously, and I'm just speaking here. He's torn. with this guy making this decision to take him. As he said so while he was drunk. He told you the truth. He didn't really want to do it.
Well, anyways, looking back at it now, I got a lot of questions. But anyways, back then I had no conscience and I didn't care. So I get in the car with these kids, hardly know them, but I know they're his guys. And he's telling me I could trust them. I would have preferred if just me and him went, and then now I would have felt way more comfortable. And probably Gus Faraci would have felt more comfortable. Anyways, this Gus wasn't stupid either. Okay, he was very paranoid. He wasn't a stupid kid.
Well, he had to be thinking at this point, everyone's looking for him. Everyone.
Stupid that he killed an DEA agent.
Yeah, that's not dumb
Okay,
enough,
stupid
right?
with that, right?
Yeah.
But not a stupid street guy because, he was very paranoid because he knows he's wanted everywhere.
Well,
we get out of the car. I'm loaded up, ready to go. The lights are off. I go, is he even home? They says, no, he goes sometimes and plays in the woods. But then he comes back. But usually what will happen is when we pull in the driveway, the lights will go on. So we get out of the car. Lights are still off. They knock on the door. Nothing. Knock on the door again. Nothing. 3 times. He's not home. We get back in the car and we wait. He says sometimes he goes off and plays in the woods for however long. We're waiting there for 2 hours. Nothing. Well, I said, you know what? Let's turn back for another day. Okay? Go back down to the Bronx. Where's Johnny again? I go meet him at there's some restaurant I met him at. I forget the name of it. And we told him everything. He understood. He said, yeah, there's a lot of times I went up there and the kid would be missing for 3-4 hours.
Where's he going?
He was
Just playing in the woods.
I don't know. He thought he was Rambo. That's what I was told.
In the middle of the night, he's out in the woods, this guy.
Yeah, we got up there. It wasn't that late. It was like probably, if I had to guess, it was right after dinner, like, when it turned dark, like 8 o'clock.
Yeah, okay.
We went up there.